Retail workers and customers, what is your craziest Black Friday story? When I was working at Bath and Body Works, lots of stuff was selling out, especially the popular fragrances. I guess the company didn't plan accordingly, because we were running out of warm vanilla sugar. A lady came in and wanted one of everything of that fragrance. Lotion, hand sanitizer, body wash, everything warm vanilla sugar. Well, we ran out of hand lotion in that fragrance. What does she do? She started opening all the stock drawers, frantically searching for it, and I mean all the drawers. Stuff was flying everywhere. Where is the hand lotion? She never found it, so she dropped everything and left and didn't buy a thing. Beanie Babies. They would toss the beanies from a banana table. People were fucking vultures after these things. I was about 9 and an old lady grabbed a cat out of my hand. I stomped on her foot and stole it back. I was so proud. My mom, baby brother, and I were at a super Walmart. I was 8 and my brother 3. My mom found a Pikachu stuffed animal that made the Pikachu noises and she handed it to my brother to play with. She was going to wrap it up later for Christmas, and some woman came up to the cart while my mom was picking up a few Kelly dolls and snatched the Pikachu from my brother. As my mum puts it, I stomped over to the lady, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "You should be ashamed," as my baby brother cried. The woman sheepishly handed it back. There was a sale in my hometown. $1 for towels or something. This guy jumped into the towel bin and literally growled at anyone who tried to get a towel. He claimed them all. This is a day after Black Friday story. I work at Masses, and when they hire new people for the holidays, the regular employees really have to step up their game to make their sales goal. Since we are competing with so many new employees, we are generally very fair and uncompetitive the rest of the year. The new people come in and are ready to compete. Anyways, this woman comes in and wants to return $1,000 worth of items, price ranging between $20 to $60. One or two of the items were missing the tags and the proof of purchase, so I had to start crossing items I had scanned of the receipt to do process of eliminations. I'm losing potential sales as I process this 15 to 20 minute return, and in the back of my mind I'm thinking WTF. So finally, towards the end of the transaction, the lady starts thanking me and I asked, "You didn't want any of these things that you purchased?" She didn't keep one thing. So she tells me her elderly and somewhat confused father was here yesterday and he kept putting things on hold and he kind of overdid it. He was going to meet someone for lunch and was going to come back later with another person to help him make his final selections. Someone at the register convinced him that it would be better to buy all the stuff right now because we couldn't hold it and the price was going to go up. Seriously, I might encourage you to buy something and return it if you don't like it if it's like a $50 to item purchase, because generally people will keep the merchandise and it will boost your sales. But to convince a confused old man that he should spend $1,000 right now because we can't hold things, that's vicious. Back in 2008 I worked at Walmart as an overpass stoker. On the night before Black Friday I finished my grocery stocking in 1 hour, then started walking around to help the others in grocery to finish. After we were all done, the manager put us in different locations throughout the store to stand guard at the stuff that wasn't to be sold until midnight. I got the luck of getting the layaway section where the online orders were coming in and the expensive electronics were being held. From the moment I got there was an older black gentleman that looked to be in his 70s that started the line. We made small talk throughout the waiting time to midnight when we started helping customers. At 11:59 these two black women decided to cut the entire line, which at this point was over a few hundred people and wrapped around most of the store. The older man said politely, "Ma'ams, there is a line for this service." After he said that, one of the women told him, "Shut up, you old motherfucker, we ain't got no time to wait in line." They then came to where I was at and started demanding that I sell them these crappy cameras that we were selling for $5. I told them that they needed to go to the back of the line like everyone else. At that point, the first one spit in my face and the second one tried to climb over the counter to grab the cameras that were sitting behind me. This old man got up and shot over there and pulled the second woman off of the counter and backhanded the first woman and restrained them both while LP, the manager, and security came and properly detained them and called the police. The manager thanked the old man and gave him a fairly significant discount. Then let me go home early and gave me a voucher for the truck stop across the street to eat dinner. Several years ago I was hit by a car as a pedestrian on the day before Thanksgiving. I flew home to visit my parents on break from college and of course they're like, ooh, it's Black Friday, let's go to the mall. Me, high on Demerol, experiencing the extreme calm side effect, aka the fuck it all side effect goes along. Even with a cane and a brace on my leg I still got pushed and shoved. I started to intentionally hit people with my cane, and if they got pissed and were like, hey WTF, I was like, keep moving or it'll be harder next time, and they backed the fuck off. A few years ago at my local Walmart, some worker was opening the doors on Black Friday. The man was trampled to death. A couple years ago, I was working at GameStop. After the first 10 minutes, we were out of DS's. We decided to hang signs on every window and every other DS display box saying no more Nintendo DS. No E to 4 new ones. Well, around 10 that morning we were still extremely busy. So, this lady picked up one of the display boxes without the sign and waited 35 to 40 minutes in line to purchase it. When we told her it was an empty box and we didn't have one to sell her, she threw it behind the counter at one of our cashiers and threatened to call the police on us. We apologized for the misunderstanding. She then yelled at the cashier some more and stormed out of the store, but not before knocking 2 rows of cases off the wall. I had a woman slap me over candles. I worked at a craft store and we had candles that were $4 a piece and ones that were $0.39 a piece. They were on a big display and people kept bringing the expensive ones up and won the cheap price. It was hard to avoid stuff. So I explained to everyone who had the expensive candles they were $4 each, and I would ask if they still wanted them. Most didn't. One lady still wanted them, but she wanted them for the cheaper price. I just explained to her I couldn't do that, so she came over the counter and slapped me on the face and left. Her husband ran after her, but soon ran back in and asked me not to file charges because she was off her meds. I just stood there for a second and then took the next customer. I was working at Circuit City in the camera department. We had a sale on a photo printer and camera bundle. Well, we sold out fairly fast, and this really big guy, at least 6.5 feet tall, I'm not quite 5 feet tall, and female, actually tried to strangle me because we didn't have the bundle in stock anymore. Hands around the neck, started squeezing, the whole 9 yards. Needless to say, he was escorted out of the store fairly fast. I used to work at a little girl's clothing store. In this place, you could easily drop $500 on shit to put under the tree for just one little girl. We used to give away these things called $2 where, if you spend $50, you got $25 back in $2 to spend the next time you spent $50. People went bananas for these things. One year, this mob wives looking woman comes in our store with an average looking little girl of about 10. All this little girl wanted were things that had anything to do with soccer, so I got everything we had, and she tried it on. The mom was on her phone most of the time not paying much attention, and when the little girl stepped out of the dressing room beaming ear to ear with a t-shirt with a soccer playing bear on it, the mom looked at her eyes wide, shut her phone and screamed, "No. Fucking no, Angie. I told you you're going to stop this. I'm tired of you looking like a little dyke." I've heard it. The little girl was standing there with tears in her eyes, and unfortunately I was a punk ass bitch at the time, so I just sat there dumbfounded. A teenage girl soon walked over, the woman's other daughter. She had been shopping on her own, and came in to wait. She starts flipping out on her mom saying, "If Angie's a dyke, let her be a dyke. What's your problem?" They're full on fighting next to the dressing room. Meanwhile I'm trying to talk to Angie about soccer, and keep her from crying. Towards the end of their fight the mom said, "I'm not about to spend my hard-earned money and have her look like shit." For some reason I decided to interject then with, "You know, our $2 promotion is going on, and you can buy all these clothes today and get half off whatever clothes you get her for Christmas in 2 weeks. It worked. 2 weeks later she came back poor and had a shit ton of pink sparkly leggings and leopard print tank tops under the tree. I went to my first Black Friday sale last year. We chose a Walmart in a decent part of town. We got there around 10:30 and it was pretty calm. There were people circling the pallets like a pack of sharks, but overall it wasn't crowded. I got in line for the PS3 sale and waited for a while. Midnight hits and our aisle is pretty calm. It's not until I get my box and line up in the electronics that I see how people are going apeshit over half off Tupperware and $5 DVDs. I was standing in line, clinging to my box for dear life in the swarm of people flooding the department. Suddenly, there's a commotion over by the games. I'm close enough to hear the shouting, but not enough to get a clear view of what's going on. I was here first. I was only trying to find someone to open the cabinet. Fuck you, I was here. This game is mine. Listen, it's for my kid. Do you really want to fuck with me? At this point, an employee steps in and yells, "Look, dude, the game isn't even on sale. Come back tomorrow and buy it." Really? It's not even on fucking sale, and you're going to come to blows over it? I'm next, so I start paying for my stuff, while this fight ensues. People are crowding around them, and I still can't believe someone's going to start a fight over a stupid video game they can buy at any point in the near future. The cashier just put the receipt in my hand when I hear, "Oh my god, he's got a gun." What the actual fuck? All I want to do is buy my boyfriend a PS3 for Christmas. That's all. There's people fucking everywhere, but I'm trying to put as much distance in between me and that department as I can. This is not how I'm going to die on the floor of a Walmart because of some asshole who can't wait a fucking day for a game that's still full price. I don't know what happened to the man, but I never heard any shots fired, and I never saw anything on the news about it. There were police at the front of the store marching their way through. I got out alright, but from what I heard, there were several injuries, a couple of fights, and one incident of someone throwing something, and an attempted robbery in the parking lot. I work seasonal at Toys R Us for a little extra cash. Toys R Us Black Friday starts at like 8 PM or something the night before, and employees are not allowed to leave during their 12-hour shift. Since we weren't allowed to leave, they had a carry-in for lunch. Well, a lot of the carry-in food was just people's Thanksgiving leftovers, which were potentially made a day or two before even Thanksgiving. As far as casseroles and stuff were concerned, people would have brought their already 2-day-old food into the store at 8 PM the night before Black Friday and let it sit for hours in a hot break room. Customers were actually really friendly, and I wasn't minding the rush a single bit, but I was starving. Lunchtime came, and I ran to the back and started scooping sloppy helpings of strangers' leftovers onto my plate, and before I could even look at the food I was shoveling it in my mouth. Out of nowhere a female coworker starts pointing at my crotch screaming, which I'm used to, but she's got this terrified look on her face. I looked down and there was a clump of shaved lettuce on my pants. I brush at the lettuce only for them to wiggle away from my hand. Maggots. I started trying to throw up but I couldn't. All the food had to be thrown away, and employees were then allowed to leave for lunch, since they had nothing else to serve. I didn't get sick, thankfully, but man, I was freaking out the rest of the shift. Employees were pointing at me and staring. It just really sucked. Honestly though, Black Friday wasn't that bad as far as the work was concerned. Customers seemed so concerned with not being problematic, and were all very friendly. Last year I went to Kohl's on Black Friday and waited in line outside for 10 minutes. Then I went in and bought a hat at regular price. Then I drove home and drank some hot cocoa. Not a Black Friday story, but close enough. Thanksgiving Day. I used to manage a 1-hour photo lab in a suburban Atlanta Records drugstore. For some reason, management decided to keep the lab open on Thanksgiving Day. Normally, the lab was closed on major holidays like that. I already had the day off, so one of my underlings was working the 10 to 4 shift. At around 11 AM, I get a call on my cell. I'm elbow deep in a raw turkey's ass, so my mom holds the phone up to my ear, and all I can hear is shrill screaming and a very frustrated sounding coworker telling me there was a big problem. Great. I wash up and head over to the store, about 10 minutes away from my house, only to be greeted by an infamous problem customer, public bitchamy #1, screaming her idiot head off at the poor girl back in the lab, who is shoulder deep inside the wet printer trying to remove a paper jam. PB1 took 4 rolls of film that morning of her daughter with various folks and wanted them all developed in 1 hour so she could give her family members who were in town for the holidays some nice current pictures. Normally, doing 4 rolls in an hour is no big deal. It took exactly 13 minutes to develop the film and another 7 to print. I immediately jump in as the girl in the lab is in tears. I put on my rubbers, apron, over the elbow gloves, and start tearing into the jam, which was caused by a broken plastic gear on one of the feeding rollers. I clean everything out and get my boxo parts so I can repair the roller, all the while PB1 was moaning and groaning about missing precious family time while I was playing scientist in the lab. I dropped everything I was doing and turned to her. "That's it. I'm out of here. You can pay for the pictures you have and come pick up the rest tomorrow." I had to interrupt making Thanksgiving dinner with my family to come down here so you can go back to yours. If your family is going to be in town past tomorrow, then there is no need to put anyone through all this, especially on a holiday. I'm not even getting paid for this. Clark's was definitely running through my mind. I started to clean up the mess and put away stuff, and she started getting super upset and apologetic. I told her the only way I would stay and fix the machine and print the rest of her pictures is if she turned her back to me and refrained from speaking. She did, surprisingly, and 5 minutes later I had the new gear replaced, ran a test roll to get any debris stirred up in the tanks, and had her last 2 rolls printed a few minutes later. She paid and didn't say a single word to me. A week later, she came back in to drop off more film for me and acted like nothing had ever happened. The kicker is, she had the shittest camera on the planet. It was only a couple steps up from a disposable, and she always took the worst pictures, usually of her very pretty daughter. Finger/strap in the frame, too far away from the subject, while using the flash in a dark room, too close to the subject with a flash, etc. That pissed me off more than anything. Lady was one step up from a fun saver, and she acted like goddamned Ansel Adams. She would constantly try to come back in the lab, a huge ocean oh no, so she could see me scan in her negatives and do the color adjustments. After I stopped working there, I bumped into her in the grocery store. She tried to be overly friendly towards me, probably because she was with her family. I said, "Please do not act like you are my friend. Because you are not. You're a horrible, spoiled brat of a woman, and I hope to God your daughter doesn't turn out the same way. Loved that job. Hated the people." Slidell, Louisiana. Black Friday 1996. Dillard's department store. I'm a customer. I'm in a cage with the animals awaiting the lifting of the gate, awaiting a start for the race. I'm not here to shop. I'm here because I'm 16, 6 feet 4 inches, and can help block and play defense for my mom while she shops. I don't know what I'm getting into. I think she's joking. In a few hours time, I'll know how immensely serious she was. The gate opens. Women old enough to be my grandmother drop to the floor and scramble underneath it as it's barely 2 feet up. I laughed hard. Mom pulled my arm and we ran together. Once the gate was full up, we were at the front of the crowd. She runs to a rack of clothing and starts poring over items for my sisters. I watch a woman pick up an article of clothing, only to have another woman snatch it from her hands and run off with it. I saw one woman slap another for cutting in line at the register when the lines are 24 customers deep. I wasn't ready for that, but it made me ready for so many other Black Fridays that when I worked retail, nothing else I saw fazed me. Moms wrestling over Pokemon cards, grown men fighting and calling each other names for coming to the register to ask questions while someone else was checking out. I've seen a lot. I've seen too much. To begin with, I love my mother, but we never have really seen eye to eye on most matters. She's deeply religious. I'm, well, not. Anyways, we do have one tradition that I revel in every year. We have our Thanksgiving dinner at her parents' house in a suburb of Baltimore. After dinner, my stepfather and brothers head home to sleep. We grab a giant, read 1.5 gallon thermos filled with coffee and Baileys, and go wait outside our favorite Walmart until midnight. The only time we rush is to get inside so that we don't get trampled. We then make our way over to the furniture section, sit down on the comfiest couches, and enjoy the rest of the evening until we've finished our thermos and sobered up enough to drive home. We've only been bothered once. The first time we did it, an employee of some kind with a nervous look on his face came walking up and asked if we needed anything. We said, no. He said, well, you know you're not supposed to be sitting on the display furniture. And I said, well, they are not supposed to be ripping down those shelves to get every last DVD player, now are they? He looked over and ran to try and restore some order. We haven't been bothered since. We are going on our 8th year and it's the best. Mine's more of a day after Black Friday story. I was the cash office associate for a discount retail store, so, mercifully, I spent Black Friday in my office preparing the deposit from Wednesday, answering the phone, and running change out to the cashiers. The next day, however, I got to spend 6 hours putting together the Black Friday deposit, and then I got to drive $40,000 in cash/check to the bank. Why my store never did Loomis Fargo pickup, I don't know. Allegedly, during the Cabbage Patch Kids craze during the 80s, mom wanted to get 2 dolls for her 2 daughters. She had to share everything with her sisters, so she was determined that we would always have our own toys. Some crazy lady saw mom in line with 2 Cabbage Patch Kid dolls and tried to take one away, calling mom a selfish bitch. I asked mom what happened to the lady and she said, I got those dolls for you, and that's all you need to know. I worked at Verizon a few years back, before they carried the iPhone 4. There was plenty of rumors on us carrying it soon but nothing was official. I had a guy threaten me with bodily harm because he thought that we were just holding out on the public and we had some kind of huge iPhone stash in the back room. He threw his phone at us and demanded we give him an iPhone. I explained to him that Verizon didn't have the iPhone. He sat at a desk and refused to leave until we sold him our iPhone. We had to call security and they had to remove him. The whole time he was cursing me and threatening me. He described the Verizon iPhone as having a red Apple logo on the back. His reasoning was that a friend of his on the internet told him that we were only selling a select few and that he had to demand one and threatened to switch over to AT&T. I do not miss that job. I was working at Incredible Universe in 1996 as a cashier. This is the year the Nintendo 64 came out. Black Friday starts out in a huge rush. People are ready to check out within 5 minutes. In less than 10 minutes we have lines reaching the back of the store, and it is getting really loud. At 3:40 AM everything is suddenly quiet and people are turning to look at something that had happened in electronics. There standing in a puddle of vomit was this 20-something-year-old guy yelling at an 8 to 10-year-old kid for puking on him after he grabbed the gaming system out of the kid's hands. The man was yelling about how the stupid little shit thinks that a little puke will get him to give back the system. When I was working at Walmart many years ago, they had big stuffed Care Bears for $10. When they ran out of the purple ones, a woman stole one out of another person's cart, only to get a right hook to her face. A small scuffle broke out, police were called, and blood was spilled. It was a good day. Then a few years later, when I was an assistant manager, we had a limit on the TVs you could purchase, and a woman raped herself across them and refused to get off because she wanted the entire pallet. She was dragged out of the store by the police. That was also a good day. I loved Black Friday. It was the most fun out of all the retail days to me. There was one copy of Left 4 Dead 2 left at Best Buy. I was searching vigorously through a bin for the game, and there was a probably 10-year-old searching for something as well. I found the game, and I saw the look on his face that he wanted it. I was going to get my karma for the day and let him have the last copy, if that's what he was looking for. I looked at him and asked him if this was the game he wanted. He said yes, walked over, punched me the hardest I have ever been hit in the balls in my life, and grabbed it out of my hand and ran away. Black Friday, 1998. As a recent college grad and an active gamer, my friend talked me into going to Best Buy to try the sale. We hoped to pick up new video cards, new CD burners and some cheap games. We were very naive and showed up only 15 or so minutes before the doors opened. The line stretched from the front of the store all the way around back. We just stood there, near the front door, in shock. A couple of rather big guys near the front of the line started yelling and cursing at us. We sincerely had no plan to cut line. We really didn't know how big of a deal Black Friday was as the concept was new to us. We agree this is a bad idea, but we wanted to hang out for a bit and watch. If the crowd was this ugly to us with us just standing there, would there be fights? Would there be chaos? Maybe if we kept our distance, there would be a spectacle, but we'd be out of harm's reach. 5:55 am. The steel gate behind the store doors opens just enough for an employee to squeeze out and approach the crowd with a megaphone. If you people don't behave, we will call this sale off. Even us being so green didn't believe that, but the crowd started chanting bullshit, and I felt like I was at a wrestling match, not here to buy computer parts. He then pointed to us and said, and all of you people need to go to the back of the line. Some of these people in line have been here all night and it's not fair to them. Or, I ask my friend. We turn around and there's a disgusting mob behind us. Nothing attracts a crowd like a crowd. Basically people got out of their cars and had just joined a new line that unintentionally started with us. All of our plans had failed. We didn't get to do the sale and now we weren't going to get to watch as we are part of the mob. I hadn't been paying much attention to what the employee, I'm guessing a manager, had been saying at this point. I was too concerned with what we had gotten into. But the guy kept waving his arm, pointing, exaggerated movements, etc. He must have used the word now at some point, because the steel gate raises the whole way and the guy starts to panic. No, not now, not now. The two crowds surge, but the mob we were leading, one because the originally people were still in a line. There's yelling, screaming, cursing, so many people upset with my friend Joe and I, and we didn't intend a damn thing. We get pushed through the doors and there is a sad kid working a folding table that's supposed to be pushing credit card applications. Not today kid. I'm surfed up onto his table, and behind him were the new CD burners. Yay. What were we even getting so excited for? Was it 8x being the big deal back then in CD technology? I don't even remember. I toss one to my friend Joe and grab one for myself and yell at Joe to the video cards. Oh god, it became an adrenaline rush. People were actively chasing us, and I heard a dad at one point say, follow those two, they know what's going on. No we didn't, we just had a finite list of things that were important to us. Joe and I were both able to get the video cards we wanted, so onto webcams. Why did I even want one? I know I never used the thing, but it seemed like such a cool idea back then. Make a 2-inch wide picture with a horrible yellow background because the camera wouldn't take enough light in. Couldn't even see people over 56K connections. At the end of the aisle are the webcams, and they're already picked over pretty badly. It's not my proudest moment, but that dad is there again and asks which one do we get? I only see one left of the model that's actually on sale and his hand is approaching it. I'm sorry Reddit, I lied to him. I think it's that one, and he grabbed the wrong one. I reached between his legs to grab the last of the right one, and I swear I heard a yoink noise as I clutched it and took off. We went straight to the checkout lines, which were already getting pretty bad, but we knew it'd only get worse, so we merged and started to check out. I thought I was in for some sort of comic payback when this family of 5, unrelated to that dad from earlier, start loudly saying, that guy doesn't know what he's doing. He grabbed the wrong webcam. What a loser. Joe and I were pretty amazed over this. It's a family and they're openly deriding a complete stranger, plus, they're wrong. How damn weird. It started to get awkward as other people were staring. I finally had enough of it, but also not wanting to make a scene. I picked up a circular, walked towards them and opened it. I pointed to the picture, and then my webcam. I pointed at their webcam, and then the picture in the circular and shook my head no. One last time, to sell it home, I point to my webcam, and then the picture and shake my head yes. Oh god, I just wanted to make them shut up, but in my attempt to shut them up, while not really making a big scene, it ended up embarrassing them badly. I guess the part of me not actually speaking, and instead just doing the head movements made it worse as the 5 of them became silent. And the guy immediately behind them in line loudly guffawed and stated to no one in particular they were joking him for buying the wrong one, but it's them that has the wrong one. And he laughed some more, which led to other people laughing. If anything, I felt sort of awkward for them as I don't like it when someone takes it upon themselves to explain the obvious, but the crowd really seemed to like it. Epilogue: we go back to my parents' house and my parents are up, making breakfast, drinking coffee, watching the news, etc. My mom is ecstatic to see me. Tojunk, thank goodness you're in one piece. The news was saying that an angry mob stormed the doors of Best Buy this morning, cutting in the line of all the people who camped out overnight, and it was a big mess. I probably looked like a scolded puppy at that point when she noticed that Joe and I had large blue shopping bags. Joe had a stupid grin on his face, and that's when my own dad commented they were in that mob, weren't you guys? Joe, being a little too proud of his haul, I guess, chirped back we were at the front of it. I was at Walmart with my mother many Black Fridays ago, and a woman about 3 places in front of us in line was trying to buy an electric drill, presumably for her husband. The cashier proceeds to tell her that there is no Black Friday sale price for that specific drill, so the woman happily proceeds to turn on the drill and try to stab the cashier in the eye. Many other security guard escorts were made that day. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Goodbye.